All right, so let's try. This time we're going to talk about other lines. So I'm going to say, this line or marquee is scrolling across the screen. This line or marquee is scrolling across the screen. I don't think that's how you spell across. What do you think is the tag that I'm going to use to get a line to marquee or scroll across the screen? Marquee. You guys are catching on. So the tag itself is marquee. M-A-R-Q-U-E-E. I do have to close it, because if I don't close it, everything between the opening and closing marquee tag will scroll across the screen. M-A-R-Q-U-E-E. I do have to close the marquee. Now I should have a line of text that is scrolling across the screen. The tag is marquee, M-A-R-Q-U-E-E. I have to open it and I close the marquee tag. Otherwise, everything that I type after that will continue. Everything will marquee. Yes, sir. All right, so I don't have to do a line break after a marquee. By a side effect of a marquee is also to force a line break. So I don't have to line break after a marquee. So I'm going to say this line, I'm going to say this marquee is scrolling from left to right. Because my other one I can see is going to the left. It's going from right to left. I can see it right below my text header. There's the little guy just scrolling right away. I want to reverse the direction of the scroll. What is the tag that I'm going to use to get this line to marquee across the screen? That is the tag that I'm going to close. There must be an attribute that controls the direction of the scroll. What do you think that attribute is? Yeah, direction. And I'm going to say direction equals, I actually want to scroll to the right. So I'm going to say direction equals right. And if I refresh my browser now, I should have one scrolling to the right. We don't close attributes, we close tags. As a matter of fact, give me about 30 seconds and I'll answer that question. He's asking, are there any other directions that it can scroll? Well, as a matter of fact, why don't we check that now? Are there any other directions that it can scroll? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to do a search for HTML marquee. All right, so I'm going to go out to my browser. I'm going to do a search on HTML marquee tag. Now, if you'll notice, the next thing that's popping is W3 Schools. That is my personal favorite place to go for HTML tags. The only problem is, it doesn't have marquee. That might be why yours is yellow, because perhaps marquee is deprecated. I don't know. But for some bizarre reason, out of all the hundreds of tags that are in that website that we're going to get to next, marquee is not one of them. So I always have to go somewhere else. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a place that will tell me, let's see if we can find a place that will tell me not only the attributes, but the values of the end of, there it is. So I clicked on the one that said tutorialspoint.com. And this brought up not only a list of all of the attributes, width, height, direction, behavior, but it's also going to tell me the values that can be in there, up, down, left, or right. So the direction is up, down, left, or right. Those are the values that I can type after direction. Behavior, scroll them out. The vertical space and the horizontal space, I can have it bounce back and forth instead of scrolling off and coming back. I can have it bounce back and forth. I can have it scrolling up. I can put it within the size of the space. I can have it scrolling up within a vertical space. I can set the size and it will scroll. So there's all kinds of attributes available to me. And if I am on the right space, it will also tell me the values that can sit inside of there. I can change the speed at which it scrolls, make it move faster, a lot faster, or move a lot slower. I would warn you that if it scrolls fast enough, people can't read it. So if you choose to increase your scroll speed on your homework assignment and it's too fast for me to read, I'm not going to be able to see your brilliant quote that you put in that scroll because I won't be able to read it that fast. I'm going to leave this page. I'm going to leave that page open if you don't mind. So we can see that I can do a web search for these HTML tags and I can find out stuff. All right, so as I said before, a marquee automatically creates a line break, so I don't have to force a line break. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to force a paragraph because I would like to get a little bit of space between the next thing that I'm going to do. This adds a horizontal line across the page. A horizontal line across the page. Actually, it's called a horizontal rule. It's like laying a ruler down line. It's called a horizontal rule. What do you think is the tag for a horizontal rule? Yeah, it's HR, horizontal rule. The horizontal rule is actually centered. So I'm going to put the tag HR. I don't have to open and close HR. I just put one there, kind of like a line break. Give me one right here. Give me one. So if I refresh my browser, I keep hitting F4 instead of F5. If I refresh my browser, I'm seeing this line here. I can see the line. You didn't used to be there. This is the bottom of my page, so there is a line right there. A horizontal line across the bottom of my page, and the tag is HR. This adds a large purple. Oh, we've already done purple. Red, purple, green. Large green line halfway across the page. What is the tag that I'm going to use to do that? By the way, horizontal rule also forces a new line. What is the tag that I'm going to get a large green line halfway across the page? HR, horizontal rule. You may have guessed by now that HR has attributes. Probably has attributes. If I want it to be large, that means that size or width is the attribute. Width, no, I take that back. Size. It is size. Size equals, this time I'm going to say size equals 5. The next one is halfway across the page. That's actually an attribute called width, W-I-D-T-H. Width equals, if I put something like 50% in here, that means it will take up 50% of the page, halfway. But my rule by default, my line by default is centered, which means it's going to take up the center 50%, because it's centered, which is really helpful to have a tag called div with an attribute called align. If I wanted to force my horizontal rule to the left, div align equals left would allow me to do that. The last one is color. Color equals green. I'm going to say color equals green. And I'm going to refresh my browser and see if I get a large green line halfway across my page. Notice how the horizontal rule automatically creates its own page break. So I have a beautiful green line. I see this pretty green line. I had a pretty red line and a nice little purple line, right? Papyrus, purple line of text. I distinctly remember in our chapter on numbering systems and data representation. Are you guys up and running? Okay. I distinctly remember in data representation, I remember the conversation that the human eye can see 16 million shades of color. That's why I personally have like 7 pairs of black shoes, because they're all different shades. 16 million shades of color. So when I say that I want a red font, which shade of red does it give me? I can guarantee you there is a McDonald's red, and there's a Chick-fil-A red, and there's a Coca-Cola red. And I am almost certain that those 3 shades of red are not the same color. So when I say I want a green line or a red font, which shade of green or red does it give me? Which out of the 14 some odd million shades does it give me? Better yet, when it gives me this green on my computer, and I give you my web page and you open it up on your computer, which shade of green are you displaying? When it opens it up on one in Lithuania, what shade of green is it displaying? I can guarantee you that McDonald's has a website, they are using McDonald's red, whatever shade McDonald's red is. And so another option is, instead of saying I want it to be green or red or purple, I can tell it the exact shade that I want it to be. So I'm going to open up another browser, and this time I'm going to look for color codes. But colors, 32-bit color is a hexadecimal. Instead of 32 binary bits, it will give you 6 hexadecimal bits. So I'm going to look for hex color palette. W3 schools? I love W3 schools. There you go. So not only can I get shades of red, we were doing green. Oh, look, I got shades of green. But if I click on one of the little shades, not only it'll give me shades within that. And this is the hexadecimal. This is the 246-digit hexadecimal number. 6-digit hexadecimal number. Each hex is 4 binary bits. 6 times 4. This is 24-bit color. What I need is that hex value. Not only do I just need the hex value, but I need the pound sign in front of it. So let's say that I want it to be, oh, this is a pretty shade of green right here. I want it to be this shade of green. I'm going to steal this 6-bit hexadecimal number plus the pound sign, and I'm going to paste that right here. And let's see if, let me save my, refresh. I got to be on the right page of my browser when I refresh. And I don't know, I can't really tell if it turned green. So in order to do this, test it accurately, how about if we change it to purple? Oh, there's a pretty shade of purple right there. So I'm going to come back to my page. I'm going to change it from that shade of green. Let's see if we can get it to be purple now. I have to refresh my browser on the correct... Oh, there is a pretty purple. It's like a lavender. This soft, pleasant lavender color. This is probably why I love W3 schools, because it has an excellent color picker, which allows me to look at all the millions and millions. Okay, maybe not millions. But W3 schools had an excellent... W3schools.com had an excellent color picker. This is how McDonald's Red, McDonald's website displays McDonald's Red no matter what browser it displays on, no matter what country, what computer. It's because they don't just say red or McDonald's Red, which I don't think is a name or a color. They give it the actual hexadecimal value that McDonald's has chosen for McDonald's Red versus Chick-fil-A Red versus Coca-Cola Red. Each one of those probably has a different hexadecimal value to indicate that red. Now, regardless of the browser that opens it or the computer or the country, it will be that exact shade. So that's another option available to us.